Why it's important to be selfish. Summary of the book. Published by Audiobooks HUB. Introduction. The selfishness myth, why putting yourself first is essential. For years, we've been told that selfishness is a flaw. Society, family, and even religion have drilled into us that thinking of ourselves first is wrong. The ideal person, we're told, is selfless, always giving, always sacrificing. But here's the truth, selflessness, when taken to the extreme, leads to burnout, resentment, and even failure. What if I told you that being selfish is the key to living a fulfilled, successful, and balanced life? That prioritizing yourself isn't about harming others, but about creating a strong, independent foundation that allows you to give more, achieve more, and enjoy life to the fullest. This book isn't about promoting arrogance or cruelty. It's about redefining what selfishness really means. It's about understanding that taking care of yourself, your time, energy, and mental well-being, makes you a better friend, partner, parent, and professional. In the following chapters, you'll discover why embracing a healthy level of selfishness is crucial for your success. You'll learn practical strategies to set boundaries, protect your time, and develop an unshakable mindset that puts you in control of your own happiness. If you've ever felt guilty for saying no, if you've ever found yourself exhausted from constantly putting others first, if you've ever wondered why your dreams keep getting pushed aside, this book is for you. Let's break the myth of selflessness and uncover the power of putting yourself first. Chapter 1. The hidden cost of selflessness. Most people believe that being selfless is a virtue. We admire those who sacrifice their own needs for others, who always say yes, and who put themselves last. But what if this kind of selflessness is actually holding you back? What if constantly prioritizing others is draining your energy, limiting your success, and making you unhappy? The trap of always saying yes. Every time you say yes to someone else, you are saying no to yourself. Think about it, how many times have you agreed to do something you didn't want to, just to avoid disappointing someone? Maybe you took on extra work for a colleague, attended an event you had no interest in, or helped a friend when you barely had time for yourself. At first, it may feel good to be needed. But over time, this habit drains your energy. You find yourself exhausted, stretched too thin, and with little time left for your own goals. The worst part? People start expecting you to always be available, and they take your kindness for granted. Selflessness leads to burnout. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It builds slowly. It starts with small sacrifices, skipping rest, working late, putting others first. Then, suddenly, you wake up feeling empty, unmotivated, and trapped in a cycle of endless obligations. Studies show that people who constantly put others ahead of themselves experience higher levels of stress and lower life satisfaction. When you give without limits, you lose control of your own life. You're no longer the driver, you're a passenger, going wherever others take you. Why people-pleasing is dangerous. Many people confuse kindness with people-pleasing. True kindness comes from a place of strength, it's a choice. People-pleasing, on the other hand, is rooted in fear, fear of rejection, fear of not being liked, fear of conflict. When you live to please others, you end up living someone else's life instead of your own. You compromise your dreams, your values, and your happiness. The irony? The more you try to please everyone, the less respect you receive. People respect those who respect themselves. The first step, recognizing the pattern. If you recognize yourself in these behaviors, don't worry, you're not alone. The first step to change is awareness. Start by asking yourself, do I often feel exhausted from helping others but guilty when I say no? Am I neglecting my own goals and dreams because of other people's demands? Do I struggle to set boundaries or feel uncomfortable when I try? If you answered yes to any of these, it's time to rethink your approach. Selflessness, when taken to the extreme, is not noble, it's self-destructive. Action step, your first, selfish, decision. Today, challenge yourself to do one thing just for you. Say no to a request that drains you. Take an hour for yourself without guilt. Choose yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable. Being selfish in a healthy way isn't about hurting others, it's about making sure you're not the one getting hurt. Chapter 2. Reframing selfishness, the key to a better life. For most of our lives, we've been taught that selfishness is wrong. But what if we've misunderstood what being selfish really means? What if, instead of being a flaw, selfishness is actually a strength? In this chapter, we'll break down the myths around selfishness and explore why embracing it can lead to a healthier, happier, and more successful life. The difference between healthy and toxic selfishness. When people hear the word selfish, they imagine someone who is rude, greedy, or uncaring. But this is only one extreme. There is a huge difference between toxic selfishness and healthy selfishness. Toxic selfishness is when someone takes from others without giving back, manipulates people for personal gain, or refuses to consider anyone else's needs. Healthy selfishness is about prioritizing yourself while still respecting others. It means setting boundaries, knowing your worth, and taking care of your own needs before you help others. If you don't take care of yourself, who will? The airplane rule, why selfishness helps everyone. You've probably heard the rule on airplanes, put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. Why? Because if you pass out from lack of oxygen, you won't be able to help anyone else. Life works the same way. If you are constantly drained, exhausted, and overworked, you become less effective in everything you do. You can't give your best to your family, your career, or your passions if you have nothing left to give. Prioritizing yourself isn't just good for you, it benefits everyone around you. A well-rested, fulfilled, and happy person is more capable of supporting others than someone who is burned out. How society tricks you into feeling guilty. From childhood, we are conditioned to believe that putting ourselves first is wrong. Parents, teachers, and even friends reinforce the idea that a good person always sacrifices for others. But here's what they don't tell you. People who prioritize themselves often achieve more in life. Those who set boundaries gain more respect from others. The most successful people understand that saying no is a necessity, not a luxury. The guilt you feel when you put yourself first is a result of social conditioning, not reality. The power of prioritizing yourself. Imagine a version of yourself where you say no without guilt. Make time for what truly matters to you. Feel energized and in control of your life. This is what healthy selfishness allows you to do. It gives you the power to live on your terms, instead of constantly reacting to the needs of others. Action step, reprogram your mindset. Starting today, replace negative thoughts about selfishness with empowering ones. Try these affirmations. Taking care of myself allows me to take better care of others. Saying no doesn't make me a bad person, it makes me a strong one. My time and energy are valuable, and I have the right to protect them. Write them down. Repeat them daily. Watch how your mindset shifts. Chapter 3. The Art of Setting Boundaries. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with being selfish in a healthy way is that they don't know how to set boundaries. They feel guilty for saying no, afraid of upsetting others, or unsure where to draw the line. But here's the truth, without boundaries, you will always be at the mercy of other people's demands. In this chapter, you'll learn how to set clear, strong boundaries that protect your time, energy, and mental well-being, without feeling guilty. Why boundaries are essential. Think of your life as a house. If you leave the doors and windows open all the time, anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave a mess behind. But if you lock the doors, set clear entry rules, and allow only the right people in, your house remains a safe and peaceful place. That's exactly what boundaries do for your life. They prevent people from taking advantage of you. Help you prioritize your own needs. Improve your relationships by creating mutual respect. Without boundaries, you will always feel drained, frustrated, and out of control. The different types of boundaries. There are several types of boundaries, and you need all of them to live a balanced life. Time boundaries. Your time is valuable. If you don't protect it, others will fill it with their own priorities. Example, I can't take on extra work this weekend. Emotional boundaries. You are not responsible for other people's emotions. Example, I understand that you're upset, but I won't allow you to speak to me disrespectfully. Physical boundaries. Your personal space and comfort matter. Example, I don't like hugs, a handshake is fine. Mental boundaries. Your thoughts and beliefs are your own. Example, I respect your opinion, but I see things differently. Recognizing these different boundaries is the first step toward protecting yourself. How to set boundaries without feeling guilty. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear being seen as rude or selfish. But the truth is, people respect those who respect themselves. Here's how to set boundaries in a way that feels natural. Be clear and direct. Don't apologize for setting a boundary. Example, I won't be able to help you with that project. Use I statements. This makes your boundary feel personal rather than accusatory. Example, I need my evenings free to rest. Stay firm. People will test your boundaries. Don't back down. Example, if someone keeps calling late at night, stop answering. Expect resistance. Some people will be unhappy with your new boundaries. That's okay. The right people will respect them. The hidden benefit, more respect and freedom. When you start setting boundaries, something surprising happens, people respect you more. Instead of seeing you as a doormat, they see you as someone with self-respect. And when you have clear boundaries, you gain more control over your time, energy, and life choices. Action step, your first boundary. Think of one area where you've been letting people cross your boundaries. Maybe it's work, family, or friends. Now, decide on a clear, firm boundary and communicate it. Example, if someone constantly interrupts your personal time, say, I need my evenings to recharge, so I won't be available for calls after 7 p.m. The first time will feel uncomfortable, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Chapter 4. The Power of Saying No. One of the biggest obstacles to embracing healthy selfishness is the fear of saying no. Many people feel pressured to agree to things they don't want to do, whether it's extra work, social events, or favors for others. They fear being seen as rude, selfish, or unhelpful. But here's the reality: every time you say yes to something you don't want, you're saying no to yourself. In this chapter, you'll learn how to say no with confidence, without guilt, and without damaging relationships. Why we struggle to say no. Saying no feels difficult because we've been conditioned to believe that it's wrong. Society teaches us that good people always say yes, even at their own expense. Here are the most common reasons people avoid saying no. Fear of disappointing others. You don't want to let people down, especially those you care about. Fear of conflict. You worry that saying no will lead to an argument. Fear of being judged. You don't want to seem selfish or unkind. Habit. You've spent years saying yes automatically. But the truth is, saying no is not rude, it's necessary for protecting your time, energy, and well-being. The hidden cost of always saying yes. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you are taking time away from your own priorities, increasing stress and exhaustion, allowing others to control your schedule, sacrificing your own happiness. When you agree to things out of obligation, you end up resenting those commitments. Instead of feeling generous, you feel trapped. Instead of enjoying life, you feel drained. How to say no with confidence. The secret to saying no without guilt is learning how to do it firmly but respectfully. Here's how. Keep it short. Long explanations make you seem uncertain. A simple "I can't" is enough. Be firm but polite. Example: I appreciate the offer, but I won't be able to help this time. Use the broken record technique. If someone keeps pushing, repeat your answer calmly. Example: I understand, but I still can't. Offer alternatives, if you want to. Example: I can't meet today, but I'm free next week. Practice in small situations. Start by saying no to minor requests to build confidence. Examples of saying no in different situations. At work. I guess I can stay late again. I can't stay late tonight, but I can help tomorrow. With friends. I don't really want to go, but okay. Thanks for inviting me, but I'm going to stay in tonight. With family. I feel bad saying no. I love you, but I have to take care of my own priorities first. Action step: say no today. Identify one situation where you need to say no. It could be a request at work, an invitation, or a favor. Practice saying it firmly and clearly. Remember, every time you say no to something you don't want, you're saying yes to yourself. Chapter 5. Stop seeking approval from others. Many people struggle with being selfish in a healthy way because they are constantly seeking approval from others. They want to be liked, accepted, and validated. But here's the problem: when you live for other people's approval, you stop living for yourself. In this chapter, you'll learn how to break free from the need for external validation and start making decisions based on your own values, desires, and well-being. Why we crave approval. The desire for approval is natural. As social beings, we are wired to want acceptance. From childhood, we are rewarded for being good and punished for stepping outside expectations. Over time, this trains us to prioritize what others think over what we want. Fear disappointing people, even at our own expense. Seek validation before making decisions. But here's the truth, no matter how hard you try, you can't please everyone. Someone will always disagree with your choices. So why live your life based on their opinions? The cost of living for others' approval. If you constantly seek approval, you make choices based on what others want, not what makes you happy. Feel anxious about judgment and rejection. Struggle to say no or set boundaries. Lose touch with your own identity. Living for approval is like being a puppet, others pull the strings, and you dance for their acceptance. But real freedom comes when you stop needing permission to be yourself. How to stop seeking validation. Breaking free from approval seeking takes practice, but it's possible. Here's how. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Before making a decision, pause. Are you doing this for yourself or for someone else's approval? Accept that not everyone will like you. And that's okay. The right people will respect you for being authentic. Practice making decisions alone. Stop asking, what do you think I should do, and start asking, what do I want to do? Detach from praise and criticism. Your worth does not depend on how much people like or praise you. Challenge the fear of rejection. Rejection is not the end of the world, it's just part of life. The hidden benefit, self-trust. When you stop relying on external approval, something amazing happens, you start trusting yourself. You gain confidence in your own decisions. You become less anxious about what others think. Instead of waiting for validation, you create your own. Action step, do something without seeking approval. Think of a decision you've been postponing because you're worried about others' opinions. Make that decision today, without asking for permission or validation. The more you trust yourself, the more powerful you become. Chapter 6. Prioritize yourself without feeling guilty. Many people believe that putting themselves first is selfish. They feel guilty when they prioritize their own needs over others. But here's the truth, if you don't take care of yourself, no one else will. In this chapter, you'll learn how to prioritize yourself in a healthy way, without guilt, without shame, and without hurting your relationships. Why we feel guilty about prioritizing ourselves. Guilt comes from the belief that we must always be available for others. Society teaches us that being a good person means putting everyone else first. Here's why this mindset is harmful. It leads to burnout. You give so much that there's nothing left for yourself. It creates resentment. You start feeling bitter when others don't do the same for you. It lowers self-worth. You start believing that your needs don't matter. But the reality is, prioritizing yourself is not selfish, it's necessary for your well-being. The difference between selfishness and self-preservation. There's a difference between being selfish and practicing self-preservation. Selfishness is taking from others without considering their needs. Self-preservation is ensuring that your needs are met so you can show up as your best self. Think of it like oxygen masks on a plane. You must put on your own mask first before helping others. If you pass out, you can't help anyone. The same applies to life. You need to take care of yourself first, only then can you be there for others in a meaningful way. How to prioritize yourself without guilt. Here are 5 powerful ways to make yourself a priority, guilt-free. Schedule me time. Block out time for yourself just like you would for work or family. Treat it as non-negotiable. Set boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no to commitments that drain you. Stop over-explaining. You don't need a long excuse for prioritizing yourself. A simple, "I can't today," is enough. Let go of people-pleasing. You are not responsible for making everyone happy. Remember, you deserve it. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Examples of healthy self-priority. At work, taking breaks when needed, not working overtime just to impress others. With family, setting limits on how much emotional labor you take on. With friends, saying no to plans when you need rest. In relationships, communicating your needs openly instead of always compromising. 6.5 Action Step: choose one way to prioritize yourself today. Pick one area of your life where you've been neglecting yourself. Take one small step to prioritize your well-being, whether it's saying no, taking a break, or doing something just for you. The more you practice putting yourself first, the easier it becomes. Chapter 7. Set boundaries and stand by them. If you don't set boundaries, people will walk all over you. They won't do it because they're evil, they'll do it because you allow it. Many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear rejection, guilt, or conflict. But without boundaries, you sacrifice your own well-being for others. In this chapter, you'll learn how to establish strong boundaries and enforce them without feeling guilty. What are boundaries and why do you need them? Boundaries are the invisible lines that define what you will and will not tolerate. They protect your time, energy, emotions, and personal space. Without boundaries, you feel drained because you give too much. Get stuck in toxic relationships where people take advantage of you. Feel resentment because people don't respect your limits. With boundaries, you have more control over your life. Gain respect from others. Feel more confident and less stressed. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. Signs that you lack boundaries. If you struggle with boundaries, you might say yes when you really want to say no. Feel guilty for putting yourself first. Feel responsible for other people's problems. Let people interrupt or disrespect your time. Avoid confrontation, even when you feel uncomfortable. If this sounds like you, it's time to start setting boundaries. How to set strong boundaries. Here's a simple framework to follow. Identify what drains you. Pay attention to situations where you feel used, overwhelmed, or disrespected. Decide on your limits. What are you no longer willing to tolerate? Communicate clearly. Be direct but respectful. Say, "I can't help you with this," instead of over-explaining. Stand firm. If someone ignores your boundary, enforce it. If they continue, reconsider their place in your life. Your boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. Examples of healthy boundaries. At work, I don't answer emails after 7 p.m. With family, I love you, but I won't discuss my personal life if you keep judging me. In relationships, I need time for myself, and I won't feel guilty about it. With friends, I can't always be available to listen to your problems. Notice how these are clear, direct, and firm. No apologies, no over-explaining. Overcoming guilt and pushback. Some people won't like your boundaries. That's okay. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will try to test you. If they guilt-trip you, I understand you're upset, but I need to do what's best for me. If they ignore your boundaries, enforce consequences, stop engaging with them. If they get angry, remember, their reaction is not your responsibility. Your boundaries are not up for debate. Action step: set one boundary today. Choose one situation where you've been allowing others to overstep. Decide on your boundary and enforce it. At first, it might feel uncomfortable, but with time, it will empower you. Chapter 8. Master the art of saying no. Most people struggle with saying no because they fear disappointing others. But every time you say yes to something you don't want, you're saying no to yourself. In this chapter, you'll learn how to confidently say no without guilt, awkwardness, or fear. Why saying no feels so hard. If you feel uncomfortable saying no, you're not alone. Many people struggle with this because they want to be liked and avoid conflict. Feel guilty for not being helpful. Fear rejection or making others angry. We're raised to be people pleasers. But here's the truth, saying no isn't rude. It's necessary for protecting your time, energy, and happiness. The consequences of always saying yes. When you say yes to things you don't want, you feel drained and exhausted. You become resentful toward others. You lose control of your life. You put everyone else's needs before your own. To take back your power, you must learn to say no, firmly and without guilt. How to say no with confidence. Here's a simple 3-step formula for saying no without over-explaining or feeling bad. Be direct. Avoid vague excuses. Say, I can't commit to this. Keep it short. You don't owe anyone a long explanation. Stand firm. If they push back, don't change your answer. 5 ways to say no, without feeling guilty. Here are 5 ways to say no depending on the situation. The polite no, I appreciate the offer, but I'll have to pass. The busy no, I'm focusing on other priorities right now. The firm no, I'm not available for that. The redirect no, I can't, but maybe, someone else, can help. The no explanation no, that doesn't work for me. Notice how none of these include long justifications. A short, clear no is more powerful than a weak excuse. What to do when people don't accept your no. Some people will try to push you into saying yes. Here's how to handle them. If they guilt-trip you, I understand, but I still can't. If they won't take no for an answer, repeat your no and change the subject. If they get angry, that's their issue, not yours. You are not responsible for their emotions. When you say no, you're setting a boundary. And boundaries are non-negotiable. Action step: say no today. Think of a situation where you've been saying yes when you don't want to. Practice saying no using one of the methods above. At first, it may feel uncomfortable. But the more you say no, the more control you take over your life. Chapter 9. Put yourself first without feeling selfish. You've probably heard that putting yourself first is selfish. But here's the truth: if you don't take care of yourself, no one else will. The biggest lie you've been told. Since childhood, many of us have been taught. Always put others before yourself. Good people sacrifice for everyone else. Thinking about yourself is selfish. But this mindset leads to exhaustion, resentment, and burnout. The reality is, you can't pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing yourself helps you show up better for others. The most successful, happy people put themselves first. It's time to unlearn the guilt and start putting yourself at the top of your priority list. Why you must put yourself first. When you don't prioritize yourself, you feel emotionally and physically drained. You attract people who take advantage of you. You put your dreams on hold for others. When you start putting yourself first, you have more energy to give to others. You set stronger boundaries and gain respect. You take control of your own happiness. How to put yourself first without guilt. Here's how to prioritize yourself without feeling guilty. Change your mindset. Stop seeing self-care as selfish, it's survival. Schedule me time. Block out time for yourself every day, even if it's just 15 minutes. Learn to say no. Protect your time and energy, see Chapter 8. Put your needs first. Before helping others, ask, am I okay? Do I have the energy for this? Cut out toxic people. If someone only drains you, limit or end that relationship. You deserve time, care, and attention, just like everyone else. Practical ways to prioritize yourself. Self-care: get enough sleep, eat well, exercise, and relax. Time management: spend time on things that make you happy, not just others. Personal growth: invest in yourself, read, learn, and improve your skills. Emotional health: distance yourself from people who make you feel guilty for putting yourself first. Putting yourself first doesn't mean ignoring others, it means taking care of yourself so you can give your best to the world. Overcoming the fear of judgment. Some people won't like your new mindset. That's okay. If they call you selfish, remember, people who benefit from your self-sacrifice will resist your change. If they guilt-trip you, stay firm. Say, I need to take care of myself first. If they distance themselves, let them. The right people will support you. Action step: choose yourself today. Do one thing today that prioritizes your well-being. Say no to something you don't want to do. Remind yourself, I deserve to put myself first. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Chapter 10. Embrace your selfishness and thrive. Congratulations! You've made it to the final chapter. By now, you understand that being selfish, in the right way, is not a flaw but a strength. Now, it's time to fully embrace this mindset and make it a permanent part of your life. What happens when you prioritize yourself? When you consistently put yourself first, you feel more confident and in control. You attract healthier relationships based on respect. You stop feeling guilty for taking care of yourself. You have more time and energy for what truly matters. This isn't just a temporary mindset shift, it's a lifestyle change that leads to long-term success and happiness. How to stay selfish, in a good way. To keep growing, make these habits non-negotiable. Check in with yourself daily. Ask, am I prioritizing myself today? Set boundaries and stick to them. No more over-explaining. No more guilt. Continue saying no. Protect your time, energy, and peace. Surround yourself with supportive people. Cut out those who drain or manipulate you. Keep investing in yourself. Never stop growing, learning, and improving. When you make these habits a permanent part of your life, your success is inevitable. Dealing with resistance from others. Not everyone will support your new mindset. Some may criticize or try to pull you back into your old habits. If people call you selfish, smile and say, yes, I am, because I respect myself. If they guilt-trip you, stay strong. Their emotions are not your responsibility. If they leave, let them go. The right people will respect your choices. The more you embrace your right to prioritize yourself, the more you'll attract people who truly value you. Final action plan, own your power. Here's how to lock in everything you've learned. Step 1. Write down the top 3 lessons from this book that changed your mindset. Step 2. Identify one area in your life where you need to be more selfish. Step 3. Take one action today that prioritizes you. This isn't the end, it's the beginning of a new, more powerful version of you. Final words. Being selfish isn't about hurting others, it's about respecting yourself. You deserve happiness, success, and peace. From this moment forward, make one promise to yourself. I will always put myself first, without guilt, without fear, and without apology. Now go out there and thrive.